Ashes of Creation. If that was a title that was not scaring you when you originally heard of it, there should be something deeply wrong with your soul. We've been burned by MMOs so many times and betrayed to the point that I don't know why anybody would ever believe in them. But this crazy guy named Steven Sharif has started a company called Intrepid Studios, and after some little campaigns here and there, here we are with an alpha actually getting released to the public this month. This is big because a guy that knows nothing about video games from a business perspective, actually putting as much on the line as he has and wanting to start a company with literally almost nobody around him to say, yeah, that's a good or even a bad idea. He kind of just went for it, and that's something to be said. It's hard to imagine a guy that knows nothing about video games coming into the industry and jumping into it as hard as he has and as passionately as he has. Something we'll get into in future videos, but right now I kind of want to talk about the little journey we have from 0 to Alpha 1. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with it. Number one, you look at the environments for this game, and from the start, I mean, that was one of the major things that was selling me. You look around, and while they might be placeholder values from the standard kits in Unreal Engine, it's just truly unbelievable how these guys have these environments set up. As far as I know, most of that credit can be given to our man Bacon. If you haven't watched any of the live streams that they do, he hasn't been on them for a while, so you wouldn't know who he is. You have to go a little back a ways. Focusing on the environments, look at these seasons, right? And it's not even just that, there's no actual placeholder BS on anything. It's all there, it's all ready to test, it's all ready to go every part of the day. This is something that Steven has actually said just recently, that every time they've initiated any type of phases for themselves, they always have it testable at every single stage, which is something that's pretty remarkable. I can think of a few other games that are in development right now that are doing the same exact thing, not following them, because I'm more than positive these games started before them, but you know, it kind of shows the speed that these guys are moving at too. But I mean, that's the thing. You look at these environments, there's not a single one that you're like, oh wow, you know, that's a game created by a team that doesn't know what they're doing. No, it's very clear that all of these guys are extremely talented. Something to be said, you look at the environments, you look at them from 0, you look at them to alpha, it blows you away. Like, at least blows me away every single time, looking at how unremarkable just the detail in the freaking nothingness that they have going on, if you understand what I'm saying. So anyway, number 2, most notable place of change in this game is obviously the combat. I mean, you look at the tap targeting clunkiness that they had in the beginning, and it wasn't even that clunky. It just looked like it was like a torso was moving independently from the legs, and then just none of it matched right. Now the action combat, I mean, am I the only person that's going to compare it to Warframe? I mean, I think everybody, there are a number of people that I was watching in guilds that I'm in for the game already, which is something to check out. The community is already on fire for things. A lot of people were saying the fluidity is very comparable to Warframe, and tons of people are going crazy on that during the Twitch stream when they revealed it. And I mean, I totally agree. You look at the fluidity of things, and it's smooth animations, really smooth animations. Again, this is going to be repeating what I said before. This is a team that knows what they're doing. These are guys that hit the ground running and obviously have a mission to accomplish when it comes to this stuff. That being said, you look at the way that it flowed though from when we saw it originally to where it is now. I'm going to expect that same exact progress to be happening with our Alpha 1 testing, where in the beginning it's going to be more or less like poop. It's going to be like, I know we saw the rapid spells and being chucked. You had the mace that was getting swung around, a two-handed sword, I think. You had crossbows, bow and arrows. I think that about covers it. There's no way that at the beginning all of those are going to be working properly, that hitboxes will be working right. I don't see how that'd be possible, especially with a game that's, being made from the ground up. Well, partially because they're using the Unreal 4 engine. But that being said, I would expect the same clunkiness with Alpha 1. So when we get in, we should be seeing rough garbage, to say the least. By the time probably the Alpha 2 gets, or not Alpha 2, but the Alpha 1 Phase 2 gets going. Might be Alpha 2, I'm not sure. Once that gets going, then we'll be on the right track, hopefully. And lastly, the speed of progress for this game is just freaking insane. I mean, you look at this game a year ago, them saying, oh, here we are to, make MMOs great again, which was a great, spin-off thing that was funny, but I don't know how much any of us were really believing it. I know there was a lot of people that threw a lot of money at it, like a lot of other games that have promised a lot of the same stuff, not delivered. It's just amazing that here we are, what is it, a year and a half, a year later, and it's just freaking insane how much of this game is more or less done, but not playable, if that makes sense to people outside of the industry. But hey, I mean, like I'm saying, you look at this and there's good and bad in that. When the artists get the, design and free reign to do what they want to do, it's gonna show. When an artist gets to sit down and design what he wants to design, and there's no one standing over his shoulder, or a CEO that's telling him what he can or cannot do, I think that helps a lot, and especially on the design side, because that's the thing you have to remember. Steven, he's a businessman, and more than anything, he's actually a retired businessman that started this company specifically to play a game that he's always wanted to play. I think a lot of us, when we hear that is like a dream come true for like the majority of us out there, that to be able to retire well before you're 40 and start up a company to make your dream game. I mean, who would not want to do that? And that attitude, I think, brought in a lot of curious talent that ended up jumping on, and it just so happens to be some of the best talent in the industry. And this probably comes from an industry of creators that are sick and tired of these producers that more or less screw the hell out of the game in its longevity with these microtransaction bullshits. So I mean, that's the important thing to remember, though, is Steven is not just this cheerleader guy, but I'm sure he looks amazingly cute in a cheerleader outfit, to say the least. But he's the creative director, right? So he's the guy that's behind the scenes making the scenery for everything. Like he's the guy that says how the trees should look, and then the artists get to go off and say, okay, the tree should look A, B, and C, so I'm gonna do A, B, C and add a little Z and maybe a little 3 and 4 in there, like shit that doesn't even make sense to us, right? And then comes back with that whole design in the environment. And that's the kind of the cool thing, is that when they're all on the same page, but they get to spice it up with things, you really get to see how that all comes across with a creative director, obviously being Steven, that gives his entire team the ability to really go nuts and have free reign in everything that they're doing. And that's pretty much the end of the video, guys. So that's just me, I guess, being hyped on the game. But more or less, you can see at least the difference from going from, here's this project that they were pitching to us in Alpha 0, so they said, that, I mean, who is anybody going to buy into a game that we're just being bullshitted like any other company? No, you shouldn't. But then we getting to this Alpha 1, and you're like starting to scratch your head a little bit, right? And say, man, These guys are onto something. These guys clearly know what they're doing. Yeah, it's a game you should be excited for. Should you join the hype train? No. No, leave that for the people that have no idea what they're talking about. You're a smart person, hopefully. You should be aware and be cautious of it more than anything, like I am. That is what we have these alphas for. That's what we have the betas for. We can only hope that unlike some games, they don't screw us after the alpha and betas in the real release. But hey, would you spend $30 million to start up a company that you were going to purposely try to screw over in the future for microtransactions? I don't know. That's a hard bet to gamble. So we got to give them credit, people, and we got to start getting excited. So you can expect some more Ashes videos from me in the future, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.